Yes, we are once again. If you're watching us live, of course, that means only mean one thing. It's Wednesday at noon Eastern Time. It is time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, you can watch us live and video on demand in many places. We have the Temptations Beach Facebook page. We have the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel, which does have better video, at least in my opinion, if you want to head over there. And, of course, at Temptations on Twitter. If you don't want all of us in all of our glory and just some of our glory, mainly our speaking glory, we can do that too with the podcast. We have the High Noon Hemp Show. Search it on Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and now on Spotify. So if you're on Spotify, go give us a follow. We're new. We're looking for friends. Check us out. I am Stoner Jesus. I do various things on the interwebs. You can check out if you feel inclined to do so. He is Beach, high above the Hemptations in Sharonville, Ohio, at the Hemp Quarters. Beach, how are things this week in the world of Hemptations?
It is true. I am high above the Sharonville location. Things are just fine, dandy in the world of hemp, I suppose. It's just chugging along here. And remember, folks, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy, just so you know. Things are, kind of what they are. It's we're seeing we're coming into harvest season, I suppose, in a lot of places. So we're going to see a lot of fresh hemp out there coming soon, and some fun hemp field harvest related stuff in the news today for sure across I think especially if you're in Minnesota or Missouri. So anyway, let's jump right into it. See what's the what in the world of the product spotlight on the High Noon Hemp Show. We got 4 from the store, 1 from my door. The first is our gummies. Every once in a while I got to pimp our own product, I feel like. And so I know we just got a fresh batch of these in. Well, we're always getting a fresh batch in because they sell pretty well, but they come in a 300, 600, or a 900. And our gummies are 10 milligrams CBD per. Simple, easy peasy. 3 different flavors mixed. In a lovely little hemp leaf mold. And I can't believe that more people do not use this mold. To sell their hemp CBD gummies, but it's okay. We can be some of the select few, no doubt. How about some TKO Delta 8 flower? Yes, and again, this is basically CBD flower, and then they take the Delta 8 and they put it on the flower. There is not enough Delta 8 in the flower itself to really get a Delta 8 filled flower, so they extract it from the hemp flower, and then they basically put it back onto CBD flower. And there's a sativa indica hybrid. I think we're out of sativa right now, but we are going to be getting those back in by the end of the week. I am sure of that. And so get that on yourself if you like smoking your Delta 8 or CBD old school wise. We just got a fresh batch of the Merry Hempsters Lotion. Again, this is very, very popular, good price point, super amount of CBD in all honesty. And of course, Merry Hempsters products are always, in my opinion, somewhat superior because they have always done it right. With their products, as far as ingredients and all of those things, they were in the hemp oil business for 20 years before they got involved with CBD, and they're not a CBD company that's making product. We've been carrying their lip balms and their balms, body balms and whatnot for 20, 25 years. And so this is kind of newer to their lineup, but very popular again, because it's a decent amount of a CBD in there with the Merry Hempster stuff. And the last one is the Miracle Oil Shave Cream. If you use shave cream, need some shave cream, how about a little bit of Miracle Oil? We love the Miracle Oil, brought to you by, I believe, Earthly Body. I don't know if they're together or separate, but we love the Earthly Body products. We love the Miracle Oil products. So if you need some shave cream, This is we have a decent amount in the Sharonville location. I'm sure you can find it online at their website as well, if you want to do that. If you can't get local, I should have always just started adding all of these products to our website when I put them on the show, so you could just go there and order them. And maybe I'm going to start doing that because we need to expand our website products, and we're going to kind of, I think, redo the website a little bit. And so we'll see. So there you have it, folks. 4 from the store. Now the one from my door is yet another fun little hemp product that I discovered recently. And it's kind of funny because just recently I've been having a problem with my glasses falling off my face because I got to pull them down on my nose to do the look close, and then they fall off my nose type of thing. And so this is a hemp woven glasses holder. And so when my glasses do fall off, or if I want to take them off and put my other glasses on like old people do, because I'm an old person now when it comes to my eyes, then I can put my glasses down, put my bifocals on or whatever. Who knows? But anyway, I've had these. We again sold these for a long time in the store. We had a local person that was making them, and this was the one set, the pair I got, or the piece. It's actually only one. That I found in some of my stuff. So just another one of the hemp products that are personally in my possession. Again, I'm going to go back to my list and start really trying to see if I can do an inventory of how many hemp products I actually have that are mine. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's got to be hundreds. I know it's not thousands because I just don't have 1,000 hemp things in my possession. I might be surrounded by 1,000 hemp things when I'm here at the store high above the Sharonville location. That's probably true. But so I should take a full inventory of my hemp goods. I do claim the world record for personally owned hemp products. And also the largest selection of hemp goods in any retail location anywhere. So those are the two Guinness. Well, they're not Guinness Book of World Records. So you have to submit them and then pay them for these. Sometimes these are the 2 cannabis world records that I currently hold. I also hold. I just lied. I also believe I hold the current cannabis hemp records for wearing a different hemp hat every day. Roughly 160-ish days, and also a different hemp shirt every day, and that was roughly around 100. And I think that was even more. I'm gonna have to go back now. Somewhere I have a graphic of when I broke these records. But again, I wore a different hemp hat every day for so many days, and I wore a different hemp shirt every day. For a certain amount of days. I don't think anybody's broken that record yet either. So I might currently hold 4 hemp records, world records.
If you don't believe that, you haven't been paying attention. If you don't believe that Beach has an incredible amount of hemp products, just on this show alone, he showed hundreds in apparel and other things on the product spotlight. And we have a special segment for it because we do it throughout the show, of course. But for this specific segment, which is not a record holder, it should be. I mean, I don't know. I have to check. I don't know who would submit that to. Internet segment, greatness, records, bureau. I have no idea. In any case, one day we'll get the recognition we deserve for the Beachwear segment. When I ask Beach a very important question, and he shows me in visual and audio form, what are you wearing, Beach?
That's right. We're approaching, maybe the record. We are at 188 different outfits. Now, some of the clothes that are obviously crossed over here on What Are You Wearing, Beach segment of the show, but I have literally worn at least 188 different outfits just on Wednesdays.
Has to be a record.
And so, I have to get all those together and go through and start focusing maybe on shirts and stuff that I haven't worn. But I've got a fair amount of my clothes have been seen on the High Noon Hemp Show What Are You Wearing Beach segment of the show. Today, I have on a eco-conscious hat. Um, that is a Young Maven tee, Prana shorts, being held up by my Hempies belt there. I apologize. I didn't bring my backpack, and I didn't put my pen in the pocket today, and so I apologize for the lack of Green Springs Technology pen in my pocket. I do have some Hempest briefs, as well as the Satori Canna-Leaf no-show socks. And then on the shoes there, as you can see, a pair of Adidas Sambas. I like those pictures. If you really do zoom in on that picture, you can see where it's got the hemp label and the Samba label. And Adidas is very good about throwing something on the outside there to let everybody know that their hemp shoes are hemp shoes, which is kind of cool. Speaking of hemp shoes, I believe, I'm going to bring it up real quick. I guess it can, wait, there you have it. What Are You Wearing Beach? Now you know. We jump right into the news. Last week I showed the Air Max. It went on sale, and I believe they actually still have stock for the Hemp Air Max at least Sneakers. I believe it's NKRS, the app. And so they might have actually made a decent run of these, that they might go into the stores and actually might have a supply of these on their website. And so I didn't see what people were doing with the eBay yet, but I did notice when I went to Sneakers that they had them in stock and could be ordered. Now they're $160. So, they're not cheap, but if you want to get yourself a pair of hemp Nikes, right now is the time to do it, because there's still supply there, at various Nike outlets online. And again, I use the Sneakers app, SNKRS, I believe it is. And that is Nike's. That's where they drop shoes for one-day sales or until they go out, or they have new releases that they have in stock there. So that's the Air Max, re-released after 20 years. I have two pairs of the original. One is falling apart. The other I'm afraid to wear. So I might have to invest in a new pair just so I can wear them again, get back out there. So speaking of, this is kind of fun. Now, last week I showed, for the product spotlight, I showed the Wild sparkling water that we have in the stores. This week, I found a news article that Wild is suing, the parent company of Wild is suing Martha Stewart, because Martha Stewart just released this new line of CBD products, and it's the exact same packaging. I mean, it is. I have to say that looking at the packaging, I'm like, wow. I mean, did they hire the same art person? And they don't have enough imagination to sell something different, or what? But I mean, they do look very similar in packaging. So we'll see how, if Wild. And again, it's always who was first. If as long as you prove you were first, it doesn't make any difference how big or successful or how much money you have. If you can prove that you were the first to use or do something, then it is your intellectual property or whatnot. And so we'll see what happens. And again, they may say it's close, but not quite close enough, because it's not the exact same. I will have to say, it's just very, very similar. Very, very similar. If the two products were on the shelf together, you would think they were made by the same company, and so that's where the confusion starts. And so Wild was first in use because Wild's been around. We've been carrying their stuff for at least a couple years with their sparkling water. And Martha just released her product line within the last month, honestly. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be interesting. But good for Wild for standing up for themselves and not just saying, hey, it's Martha Stewart, what are we going to do? I think they do have a legitimate argument, and we'll see what the courts think one way or another. I love this article for more than one reason, but the title of the article is "Move Over Concrete. the house of the future could be made out of hemp. I think I did send you a picture of a gentleman holding some hemp blocks. This is what they're saying in the article is that the first semi-detached house in Lower Saxony in northwest Germany, built out of hemp, was just completed. These are kind of fun blocks. They're kind of different than we've seen the ones that kind of look like Legos. These kind of look like they slide in. So they're got a section on the bottom that slides into the top, and then they have a section on the side that slides in to the side. We're seeing a lot of pre-molded hempcrete blocks all over the country. This is like, it's like bringing an old style of concrete construction back. You don't see, I don't think, and maybe in India or somewhere else where they really build with a lot of concrete still, you still don't see a whole lot of block building. So this is kind of super cool, and I think it's kind of neat because it's they can prefab these blocks and then just go build out your walls and whatnot. They're probably, I don't know that they were allowing this to be load bearing in this style over there. But those are some big, thick, wide and long blocks. And so I would think that they should be structurally sound one way or another. But the first semi-detached, and I really don't know what that means. It's either like detached or not attached or detached. It's like attached or detached. What's it going to be? What does semi-detached mean? Just reminds me of a song that I won't bring up. About a semi-detached something. Anyway, Lower Saxony, Northwest Germany, and it's kind of interesting because the Germans have been using hemp composite, the plastic substitute, for a long time and stuff. And just to hear that this is like the first hempcrete construction build in Germany, it's kind of interesting. And France is doing a lot of it, and Britain I think is maybe starting to do a little. Scotland area, and so hempcrete's making its way across Europe as we speak, one way or another. Here's a real bummer if you live in Idaho and you've been giving your pet CBD, which is a really good idea sometimes. It's banned November 1st. No pet products with CBD in them will be allowed in the state of Idaho after November 1st. And again, it's like you're protecting the pets from the pet people who love their animals more than their kids sometimes from a product that actually helps their animals. And again, part of this is because of the lack of federal, whether it's feedstock with the Department of Agriculture or it's the FDA, with actually saying that it's safe for humans even, which is interesting because, again, Idaho is not banning CBD for human consumption. Apparently the humans are responsible enough to purchase products for themselves, but aren't responsible enough to purchase products for their pets. And so, this is a real, all I can say is it's a real bummer for Idaho because it's just such a weird thing to do, in all honesty. And maybe they had to do this so that people couldn't give CBD to livestock, which is not an approved livestock feed anyway. And so I don't know how they could do that. But it's really designated to pet owner, cats, dogs, birds, whatever. And so, if you're been giving your dog CBD for fireworks like we have to calm her down or thunderstorms, can't do that anymore. If you're trying to give your older pet a little bit better daily life, you can't do that anymore. It's just super bizarre. And so if you're in Idaho, I don't know, get a hold of your legislators, get a hold of anybody you can and be like, what in the heck is this about?
Yeah.
One way or another. How about Sativex? Sativex is approved for multiple sclerosis in Scotland. And again, Sativex is one of the only um, FDA approved. And I don't even know if Sativex is actually, I'm going to have to go back because it's a little different. What's interesting about this Sativex for MS in Scotland is it's basically a 1-to-1 ratio of Delta 9 THC and CBD. I don't believe that the current, and it wasn't for MS here, and I can't believe I'm flaking on it. Um, and so it's kind of interesting because of its 1-to-1 ratio of, and we couldn't do that. They couldn't do this in the United States. That's why it's approved in Scotland, and that's why it's a TVAX. I believe they do most of their um, testing and whatnot overseas. None of it's done here because of apparently a THC content in the product, which would not be, the FDA could not make that legal in the United States because Delta 9 THC is not federally legal. Although it is if it's extracted from industrial hemp, which does cloud the issue. So if they're actually using industrial hemp THC, it's possible that it could be legal here. I think the fact that, once again, uh, proof that this is proof that cannabis helps with multiple sclerosis, or the drug would not have been approved to begin with. There's studies that it has to have been, I mean, I can't imagine Scotland's just willy-nilly with their drug laws, one way or another. And again, this may be legal in the United States if, they extract that Delta 9 THC from industrial hemp, which is where you would get that CBD, I'm sure, either way. So good for Scotland moving ahead with real cannabis drugs, not synthetic cannabis drugs like they have. There are synthetic cannabis drugs approved in the United States. And of course, there is one CBD inhaler approved for children in the United States by the FDA. This is fun. The Department of Agriculture is, in fact, awarding $21 million in grants to 2 hemp research and development projects. And this is through the Climate Smart Commodity Program. Now, the one grant that's actually getting the most money is just called Industrial Hemp for Fiber and Grain. Now, I'm not sure how that works with the Climate Smart, other than, once again, no herbicides, no pesticides, and so that has an effect, obviously, I'm, on the water and all the things that, the climate relies on And so now that should be interesting, but they're getting $15 million to study industrial hemp for fiber and grain. And then $6 million is going to a project called Scaling Up the Industrial Hemp Supply Chain as Carbon Negative Feedstock for Fuel and Fiber. I really just I'm just like, no wonder they got $6 million from the government, because I don't even understand what that means. In all honesty, it's like 3 different things that they're talking about. Carbon negative, that's to find out, well, it's really carbon negative. That's all one whole thing on its own. And is it carbon negative feedstock? And when they say feedstock for fuel and fiber, what does that mean? Feedstock is one thing. You don't eat fuel or fiber. Well, one fiber you do, but not the fiber they're talking about, which is textile fiber. And so it's really kind of, I don't know really what how they're, it's going to be very interesting. And again, I don't know. I mean, I think hemp for fuel is one of the least things still talked about, because it's still an oil. And of course it's sustainable. We're not drilling for it or anything, but I think that most people don't talk about it because, the only thing that we really talk about for substituting for petrochemically based fuel as batteries. It's kind of gone like they're, ethanol is out there, and that's, usually corn based fuel, and it kind of gained popularity again. Um, and it is, it might make a little bit of a comeback again as we're going through kind of a fuel crisis. Um, as far as liquid fuel goes, the movement for vehicles to go to batteries is gone in every direction. With the price of gas right now, that's all I see is every other commercial for a car is a hybrid, or somebody's releasing their new battery operated this, truck or whatnot. And so that's really the movement, um, I think, to replace petrochemically based fuels. So we don't really talk about hemp as a fuel. I've talked about it. You can take a certain diesel engine right now and put hemp into it and run it. The original diesel engines were all biofuel. It was a biofuel to begin with until they realized they could make it out of petrochemical. And we thought we had all the oil in the world, which, we still do have a lot of oil, but that's how we became dependent on it. And we need sustainable oils. If anything, if vehicles are going to continue to run on oil or gas, then we need sustainable diesel. Should look back to the original biodiesels, and if we're going to have a liquid fuel for vehicles, then hemp should be one of them. I'd rather use corn for ethanol than I would use corn to eat. Because eating corn is just a terrible idea, and we're totally dependent on that. But if we took all the corn we had and made fuel out of it, it would be an unbelievable amount of fuel. That was one of the arguments against biodiesels and whatnot, is being able to grow enough natural oil from the plants. I think hemp seed oil could, totally do that. But I don't know for sure. It'd be interesting to see. But we'll see what these grants get. More projects are going. We're seeing a lot of money being invested in research projects and whatnot for industrial hemp, which is great. We all know and tout how great it is, but nobody wants to see it on paper more than me. To prove, how great it really is at doing whatever it is we need it to do. No doubt about it. In fact, it makes people's posture better. You may or may not have seen this, depending on how much TV you watch, but Hempvana, the old Hempvana, which you see a lot of commercials for one way or another, has actually come up with a posture correcting apparatus, so to speak. And again, there was like 8 of these on this article, People Magazine article, 8 best posture correctors. Number one was the old Hempvana. And Hempvana says, don't be a slouch. Use the Aero posture made of hemp right there on the label. And what I really liked is the first time I saw a commercial, I was like, oh my God, they're using the Hempvana name to sell this product. There's no hemp in that. And then lo and behold, they actually are using hemp fiber in the thing to begin with. And so if you can't sit up straight, I always correct myself. I do self-correcting. It's true. I know when I'm slouching, and then I correct my slouch. But if you need a little sense there, how about some hemp? Keeping you straight. Use hemp to keep yourself straight. I like that. Even better than don't be a slouch. Be straight. Use hemp. Man, this is free for them. Hempvana, this is free for you.
Right.
And I've been noticing that they've been cutting their costs. Hempvana the cream itself started out pretty expensive. And again, they've been advertising for years, I would say, at this point, for their cream product. And I have noticed recently they finally did bring it down in price. So good for them on that too, I suppose, one way or another. Biofill natural fibers in Pennsylvania is investing $11 million in a fiber processing plant in North Carolina, which is North Carolina is the sixth largest grower of industrial hemp in the country. Um, and so, this once again proves two things. There is not a lack of demand for natural fiber, and there are processing plants available to do this. Now, I think that this plant in North Carolina might be the first fiber processing plant built in the United States. And it has been. I have to you see if it's the one that's actually been around for a while. And this company in Pennsylvania is buying the plant because they obviously have a demand. Biofill natural fibers. They obviously have a demand for hemp fiber in their products. Um, I'm almost curious. I didn't even look it up to see what they really do or don't do. But we're seeing a large scale movement by one of the big toilet paper companies that supplies everyday goods to come up with eco-friendly substitutes for all of their wood-based products, and hemp is finding its way in there. And so it's really it's kind of an exciting time. The more I think about the last 6 months or so reporting on all the hemp fiber stuff, textile, whatnot. The direction it's going is absolutely the direction that I predicted it would grow if we legalized hemp. We're taking old world technology and we're tweaking it in the United States to the 21st century, and we will soon be hopefully producing and competing with China for hemp textiles and Canada for hemp grain for food products, and maybe Germany for composite, plastic substitute made out of hemp. But it's going the direction we want it to go, and this is more proof, that hemp fiber does have a demand, regardless of what the Ohio Department of Agriculture says about hemp fiber. There's no demand to grow it in Ohio because no one wants to pay all the licensing and testing fees just so they can make a pair of jeans or a better paper product or something. It's just, and no one's going to do that in Ohio. We're cutting ourselves out of 2/3 of the industrial hemp market, fiber and grain, by having the fees and whatnot that we have based solely on CBD growing. It's just ridiculous. That's why North Carolina probably doesn't have that, and Kentucky doesn't have that. That's why Kentucky's probably the largest, one of the largest. We will never compete with any of the large industrial hemp growers because it's just a ridiculous waste of money for a farmer to do that, to grow grain or fiber. It's just a waste. It's a waste. If you're anywhere around Glazebrook Park in Godfrey, Illinois, the Great Godfrey Maze is open. This is a great story. It was canceled last year because the corn didn't grow tall enough. So what do they do to make sure that they have tall enough plant for the maze? They grow hemp. That's right. The Great Godfrey Maze, made out of corn for years and years and years, is now made out of hemp. And again, it was canceled last year. Corn didn't grow tall enough. This year they had, I think the one article said 10-foot high hemp plants. You can't even jump that high to look over to see where you are. And the one quote that I saw in the article, which was just brilliant, and this is open on the weekends. Again, Godfrey, Illinois, Glazebrook Park. That's right, Glazebrook Park, the Great Godfrey Maze. But the one quote that I saw was from a father, and he says, It's confusing, and not because it's hemp. We got lost 3 or 4 times. And so, anyway, it's a maze.
Yeah.
It's a maze. And I believe that, and I don't know because I had an old picture, but I think the theme, and they always cut the maze out in a theme. So if you look at it from above, it's got a theme, and I think it was circus themed this year. I think they had an old picture of the circus theme they used before, maybe. Um, and we saw one last year. I don't know if it was real or not. That was like really cool hemp intricacy maze. And so this is not the first hemp maze. We've been seeing hemp mazes all over. In fact, I think I forgot to put it down, but I do believe the hemp maze in oh man, Minnesota. There's one in Minnesota, and I can't remember the city's name. It's kind of a fun name. I'll have to check on it. But I think they're doing their hemp maze again as well. Um, so find a local hemp maze if you have one. It'd be kind of fun if there's one in Ohio, but again, I don't think anybody's going to do that in Ohio either. And but we'll see, we'll see. And again, that was obviously not CBD. This hemp, that was a fiber grain in Illinois, because the flower plant doesn't get that tall either, and it's they're planted spread apart. Whereas only if you were growing for the fiber or the grain would you just have a whole field that you could cut out into a maze, and that would grow that tall to begin with. But again, that's probably your average hemp field, 10 feet tall plant. So like I've always said, that's 10 feet of fiber, one continuous 10 foot of fiber in there, a bunch of strands that can be woven together to make what is the strongest natural fiber on the planet, and that's why. That's why. I have mentioned how I've had customers email me about changing their kids' lives with CBD and autism. In a recent study, it says our results revealed significant improvements in the overall scores, with the most improvement in social communication skills. And we've seen this. Kids that never spoke before with severe autism start speaking. That's just one aspect of proving what we already know, and that is that CBD does help with autism. Whether it's calming aspects, or whatever it does, maybe calms the brain enough that the person can then focus on communicating properly. I don't know. I'm not here to figure out, but as we talk a lot about, the human body has an endocannabinoid receptor system. So our brain is wired, and the receptors go all throughout the entire body. CB1, CB2 receptors. This is a medical fact. Okay, so our brain is wired to take in cannabinoids and then decide where it should best distribute them to get the most out of those cannabinoids. And so, with CBD, and autism, obviously, it goes to the part of the brain that minimizes an autistic person's ability to communicate like the average person communicates. As my best friend's son is highly autistic. Their brain is just wired just a little bit differently. I do think that as autism is becoming more and more prevalent in our society, anything again natural that can help. I know my friend reduced the amount of pharmaceuticals that they have to give their kids or his son because of CBD. And again, we put uh, Lil G. I mean, this was 10 years ago. I started them. Before it was legal to grow, before the CBD movement. And so I've known about this benefiting children. And again, I've had customers email me in the past thanking me because once they figured out that right dosage that worked best for their child, it changed their lives for the better. And so I think that autistic parents would love to see more studies proving this so that they can be okay with and feel good about giving their children cannabis, industrial hemp specifically, um, as something that would benefit them one way or another. And so I saw a comment there, but I didn't see what it was.
Darren Beach put in a website. It looks like it's for like a hemp maze, I guess.
Okay.
Philippeville.
Is that French? Is that in France?
I don't know. .be. I don't know what that is.
That would be cool. So there you go. There's yet another hemp maze in the world to go check out, depending on what part of the world you are in, one way or another. Cool. Schmidt's. I've shown that I use Schmidt's. They made the best natural deodorant list, and there was a decent amount of deodorant companies, I should say, that were out there. And again, I personally like the Schmidt's. I found them on Amazon. It was kind of interesting because there was no other deodorant that had 5 things that they liked about. There were 4 or 2. And one thing I thought was interesting, the one thing they didn't like is that they said, not everyone will like the hemp oil scents. And I'm like, as a user of this product, you will not smell the hemp oil. And again, even mine have gone, I've had mine for a while. Hemp oil does get a little bit of a rancid smell sometimes to it once it's gone bad. It doesn't take away from, how good or not beneficial it is. But there's like a patchouli scented, there's a sage scented. This is what Schmidt's makes, and there is 0 hemp oil smell. 0. They're already slightly, scented with because I think they use like sage and pepper in one, and patchouli in another, and I think they only maybe even have one other scent. But 0 chance that you will not like the hemp oil scent because you won't smell it. But I'd like to see something I use. And again, there's a long list of natural deodorants out there, which is the move we want to go. Again, that's kind of and we used to sell one, and we should probably have the Schmidt's in to sell. We do a CBD, kind of an all natural CBD deodorant. But I have a real problem with a lot of the over-counter deodorant companies. Anything that seals the skin is a terrible, terrible idea, especially in the underarms. In all honesty, our bodies, the skin itself, lotions, if it's petrochemically based, terrible. I think aluminum is kind of an issue with a lot of, and I know that a lot of companies are removing that, but they're also using some other companies that, again, if it seals the moisture in, you are defying the natural process of the skin, which is to remove moisture. That's why we sweat, and to think that you want to keep that in for whatever reason or another is not what the body has intended. So why would that be a good thing? I don't know that there's a correlation, but I've always thought of the causation. No, I'm sorry. There's a correlation, but maybe not the causation between deodorant and sealing the underarm and maybe breast cancer. things like that. And so, natural deodorants is something that, I switched over to years and years and years and years and years, a long time ago. And again, we've sold some hemp oil based. Unfortunately, my favorite hemp oil based deodorant stopped using hemp oil, but they are still, Leif's is still out there as an all natural good. If you see it, you should still buy Leif's. But I'm utterly disappointed because they don't use hemp oil in I think they have one like specific stick that they put hemp oil in and no other. And I didn't even see it on their website, although I saw something about it. But it doesn't have to be hemp oil basically, but I highly recommend switching to an all natural based or whatever, all natural deodorant one way or another. All right, there's the good news for the High Noon Hemp Show. Let's see, we got some a little bit of events going on today, right now until 3 o'clock. The Lincoln University Hemp Institute Field Day in Jefferson City, Missouri is happening. So I'm not really sure where that is in Missouri, but if you can get to Lincoln University's Hemp Institute, check out their field day one way or another. Here's the Hemp Maze in Minnesota. And they actually have and I'm not sure what qualifies this for cannabis disc golf, but it's actually now labeled as the Hemp Maze Minnesota and Cannabis Disc Golf. And this is going on. Check your days that it's actually open and going on. But this is in Zumbrota, Minnesota. And so, go check out a Hemp Maze and play some cannabis disc golf. Now, I can play cannabis disc golf because I have a set of golf discs that are made out of hemp. If I can remember, I'll shoot a picture of those to everybody next week on the product spotlight here. The one from my door will be my collection of industrial hemp or discs, golf discs. So that would be fun to go there and then use those there. There would be. September 23rd through the 25th in Medellin, Colombia, you have the Curso Bioconstrucción Canamo, which is hemp construction. I should look up what the word Curso means, I suppose. But I know that Canamo, Canamo, is Spanish for hemp, one way or another. September 24th, Hemp in the Holler. Don't forget about that. Kentucky Music Hall of Fame going on this Saturday down in Mount Vernon, Kentucky. Also this Saturday is the Hemp, Hops, and Shrooms outdoor event in Carbondale, Illinois. If you're going to be in France, October 11th through the 12th, check out the International Hemp Building Symposium. This is in La Capelle, Maraval. I'm probably not pronouncing either one of those correctly, France. And again, this is kind of neat because you have ISO Hemp is going to be there, and they have put out 1 million units of hemp blocks that we showed. Theirs are a little different, but they've sold over 1 million of their particular hemp blocks in Europe, specifically probably France. Afromat, which is the large hotel being built in Cape Town, South Africa. It's the largest hempcrete construction ever that we know of on the planet. They're going to be there talking about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And then you have a company called Fire Innovations from Canada. And they have a product called Davida, which are hemp blocks and hemp panels for construction. So again, the hemp building thing is it's huge everywhere. Again, France has never not grown industrial hemp. And France also has one of the oldest, if not the oldest, hemp construction, hempcrete. There's a bridge, it's over 600 years old, and the buttresses are made out of hempcrete, and it's still, Looks just like they did when they made the bridge 600 years ago out of the hempcrete, more or less. And so the French know a little bit about growing and using hemp. I mean, we don't like to give the French a whole lot of credit for a whole lot of things in the United States, which is wrong, of course. Um, but when it comes to actually industrial hemp, um, and it's spelled, and I can never pronounce it correctly in France, and I'm almost surprised it's not part of the name of this, but it's spelled Chanvre. Yeah, that's hemp in French, and again, they grow a lot of it for all types of things, from insulation, hempcrete, paper, all kinds of things. So good for the French. Good for the French when it comes to industrial hemp. They know a little bit about it, that's for sure. One way or another. What's really funny is you cannot put a hemp leaf on anything in France, because any cannabis leaf is a drug reference, and you cannot make public drug references in France. There's some serious censorship laws there going on. But if you wear a T-shirt, you can get in trouble. You wear a T-shirt, it's got a hemp leaf on it, pot leaf, so to speak. Then you can be told you can't wear that shirt.
Wow.
If we had, I remember there was an issue with some button-down shirts, and the buttons were leaves, and they got in trouble for like trying to import these into France, or they couldn't sell them in France because of the leaves on the buttons to represent industrial hemp, because that leaf to the French is 100% illegal. And so, that's an interesting conundrum for a country that grows a lot of industrial hemp, but yet couldn't even put a hemp leaf on a packaging of insulation if they wanted to. They would get in trouble. So anyway, all right, that's it. That's all the news and events fit to print. Normally, again, I've got Ask Beach Anything at the end of the show, or my beach thoughts. I don't have any questions, but and again, I think my beach thoughts were clearly illustrated throughout the show this week again. So we don't have to worry about either one of those things here on the High Noon Hemp Show. I want to thank everybody for watching, whether you're watching live or Memorex. Either way, at the YouTube channel, again, always follow us at YouTube at the Jedi. Follow the Jedi Hemp channel on YouTube, and you can watch any of the old episodes there if you want to go back and watch any of the old episodes. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See y'all next week.
Peace.